Welcome to RPG Blokes. In this episode, we're taking a look back at one of the strangest chapters in gaming history. When Dungeons & Dragons wasn't cool, it was condemned. Back in the 80s, parents panicked. The tabloids warned of devil worship, and rolling dice in your mate's kitchen could get you labelled as a danger to society. Fast forward 40 years, and the same game that sparked moral outrage is now a global pastime, streamed, merchandised, and played by celebrities. From satanic panic to geek cheek, this is the story of how D&D went from the shadows into the spotlight. So grab your dice, light a candle for the misunderstood bards of the past, and join us as we explore how the world's most controversial hobby rolled for redemption and scored a natural 20. Introducing the RPG Blokes. John, a known Satanist.
Sorry, I thought you was. Pagan, very different.
He prefers senior Satanist.
And particularly active throughout the 80s. As far as John is concerned, the devil's work was done.
No. You got to believe in that invisible sky, Daddy, for the other thing, so no.
Stephen, the baby amongst us, having begun role-playing at the tender age of 1 month. Initially meant to be a sacrifice for John, Stephen was allowed to grow into the fully fledged cultist you see today.
Yes, I have 666 tattooed at the back of my head.
I thought your price had gone up.
Well, it's the 80s price, yeah.
Barry didn't play when he was young, and so didn't have to deal with the stigma, the inability to meet girls, and the constant threat of his mum finding his dirty stash of White Dwarf magazines underneath his bed.
True.
Okay, so we're going to break this into two parts. First, we're going to talk about the satanic panic era. Of course, we're all Brits, and we know this was a bit more extreme in other countries around the world, particularly the USA. So for our American listeners, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to do this justice, but it is something we did experience over here and we have an opinion on. So we'll talk as best we can about that. And then, of course, then the redemption of the hobby as well, and say from the early 2000s to the present day, and how it's changed. So when we were young, I remember we played in our local youth centre attached to our school, and the teacher was very much under pressure to bring it to our attention just how subvertant this hobby could be. And so people would approach him with pamphlets, Christians mainly, that would do that, and he felt obliged to show us these things. And we had a good collective laugh at it.
Yeah, I say he was laughing as he read them out.
Sorry, can I just get a clarification on that? Because I'm not sure I understood it properly. A teacher at your school was handed anti-D&D propaganda pamphlets by religious parents from the school.
Yeah, I think parents and people, must
Or
have
the
been,
local community. Yeah, I remember that letter. It was sort of fairly strongly worded letter, I think, as in about stop playing the game, pretty much. I think it wasn't a suggestion, was it? I think it was quite aggressive.
It
was a joke.
And we all sat there listening and said, is he going to close the club?
We just knew everything they said just wasn't fact at the time. We just knew it. They had obviously not played the game. They were just going on what potentially was come across from America, and the panic was happening over there. And they were just looking at, well, I suppose if you look at some of the books back in that day, they were a little bit satanic looking, like the DM's Guide had a big demon on the front of it, didn't it?
But also the monster manuals and the fiend folios and those kind of supplements, they contained real devils and demons.
Well,
I mean, when you say real devils and demons,
from this world's mythology.
Yeah, it was this world's mythology they were tapping into, which I think they backed away from that. But
they also missed the point that invariably those things were there as enemies to be defeated. So if anything...
It's also a funny thing, isn't it? So people talk about, the strength of their faith, and actually people's faith can be incredibly important to them, and I defend anyone's right to have that. But the idea that your way of life is under threat by a game, like your God might not be strong enough, babes.
So we listened to that. There was no self-reflection here at all, was there? We just looked at it and laughed because we realised that we're the least likely people in society to have been drawn to these things.
We knew
that
the
they're
dangers
accusing
of summoning demons, don't we? So we weren't going to do it. So because potentially it could have downsides.
I have no problem with us summoning the occasional demon as long as we know how many hit points they've got.
That's it. And you did know how many hit points Beelzebub had. But then I suppose back in the 80s as well, wasn't witchcraft illegal? I think it was legalised in 70s, actually.
Oh, was it?
Witchcraft was an illegal act until fairly recently.
Yeah, Gardnerian was the sort of big unifier for that and got recognised as a faith.
But I could see from an outsider's point of view, you might look at us playing these games and may think that it does tie over into witchcraft. You played with witches, John?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference between witches as Christians portray them and witches as in nature-worshipping pagans, but you can't tell God's court.
You never sacrificed anything?
No, only time and
many munches were sacrificed in
just
your waistline.
Do we think this is different now as well? Because I kind of feel like more so in this country, and it's interesting that you talked about the difference in America, because actually the difference between Britain and America at the moment is quite pronounced as well. But do you feel like, I feel like religion and like particularly Christianity, like people still bang on about how we're a Christian country, and quite often I'm like, well, how are we? Like, I don't feel like it has the same.
But you give them the slightest chance and it would be.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have to just be Christianity, would it?
Or one religion or another, but we might be straying here.
Yeah. Because nowadays it might be even worse with other religions.
Yeah.
They might take this even more seriously.
I think they will. Yeah. At least Christianity have grown up and got over it.
Yeah.
Because can't say that because they're not. I am not aware of anyone campaigning still from any religious
D&D has
perspective.
changed quite significantly. They backed off on a lot of this stuff that caused the satanic panic.
Oh, okay. Was it more?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was more iconography and stuff that you would say, all right, with just superficially looking at it, you would say, okay, that looks like devil worship to me. And it did. And it was led into that, the artwork. It all led into it. But nowadays, you just, nothing like it. It's all fluffy kind of pink rainbows, isn't it, when you look at D&D artwork. So no one's going to take offense to that.
It is much more kind of...
They changed the names, didn't they?
They changed
You're not allowed to call them devils and
they're
demons.
Like Tanaris or Batsu.
There are other systems that would still cause that outrage, potentially, but they're so niche now that D&D just kind of overshadows everything else.
I mean, that's the thing with something like this. It will be, you can be a victim of your own success in that regard, can't you? It's, being at the top means you're the one that people are going to try and knock off. Yeah, I get that.
I mean, some of the fantasy stuff, Dragon Warriors, one of our favourites, is, okay, it's got the fantasy element quite strongly, but it is still based on our world history, slightly ignoring timelines. You've got the Crusades, you've got the so-called true faith, which, and you're playing, people that returned from the Crusades and fighting against evil sorcerers and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's a rich vein to mine. You don't have to go entirely fantastical like a different world, but it's probably safer.
So this whole media frenzy was sensationalist headlines that we had in this country too were linking D&D to occultism, suicide and real life evil. We just didn't get, but fine, this is what you think. It's not true, so I'm not going to feel like I had to defend myself. But there was a certain amount of, kudos, or we quite enjoyed some of that, didn't we? Let's be honest. The idea that we were doing something forbidden that other people didn't understand, but yet we weren't doing anything wrong.
Stranger things,
I was going to say, it's a
there?
weirdly wholesome rebellion, isn't it?
It is, because you've got no worries about it. You know that you're not going to be doing the things they're telling you it could lead to.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone really did come out of it in a cult. I wouldn't know, but there was, obviously the media was a bit different back in the day, because there were TV programs, weren't they, where it was negatively portrayed when one kid...
Tom Hanks movie.
Moses and Monsters, yeah.
It was in an episode of Luther as well. I don't know if anyone remembers that. There was an episode of Luther with the die rolling and they were D&D dice sets to see who they murdered and stuff like that, and writing down like it was a campaign. But
that wasn't that long ago.
No,
so
it wasn't
there was
that
still
long
a
ago.
negative portrayal of.
Well, I don't think that was a negative portrayal of the game. I think it was a portrayal of someone who had mental health issues. Did
they mention the game in that? I don't know.
Well, there were D20s and stuff. They weren't just standard dice. And he was talking about what his character would do and his random nature of it. But that Mazes and Monsters film was actually based on a real life event in America. James Dallas Egbert, he was a student at the university there, Michigan, and he lost his mind, and he went down into the tunnels and the subterranean part of the university and got himself lost. And people didn't know much about him because he was a loner, but they all knew he played D&D. The whole thing just got sensationalized, and they got tied into Dungeons and Dragons, and that was really a real moment, I think, in America where this thing
I guess
took hold. That we had our own Mazes and Monsters incident, didn't we? I don't know whether people would still recognise it as such, but the Hungerford massacre, he went postal, didn't he, and killed 16 people in his community. And they said he was playing play-by-mail games, and the play-by-mail games was the theory that he was directed to do this within the context of the game and took it out of context and then did it in real life. It never got included in the trial, and investigations drew a dead end with that as being one of his motives. But there were calls for the games to be banned. Play-by-mail games were looked at and scrutinised by society. And yeah, again, it's just another negative feedback loop in it with D&D. Everything, you watch D&D on television, it was always the sad bastard that was playing D&D.
Yeah, well, and this is it. Either the people doing it are presented as losers, or it's blamed for a violent act of a loser.
So it would be interesting to know if the D&D came out now in its form back in the 80s, what consternation. But if it didn't exist until now.
Yeah, because it has evolved, it has adapted.
It has
not
evolved,
because of those criticisms, it just has because the game's improved.
It's a really valid question, like what would happen if D&D were released today? But then you have to look at what other games, hobbies, movies, etc. And I do think we kind of live in a time now where people are much less likely to knee-jerk react, particularly from a spiritual perspective.
Yeah, maybe.
I think if we're going to talk about religion, we have to also say that Christianity has evolved and is far more relaxed and less likely to take umbrage at this kind of stuff. There is another religion on the block that is far more likely to try and tell you how to think and do.
You should Google the Westboro Baptist Church before you start making statements like that. Listen, I haven't heard a single negative thing said about our hobby from a religious perspective in the entire time that I have been playing our hobby.
I don't know what the demographic of people who actually play the hobby. They might just sort of, if they've got parents that are quite religious, they might just say, you're not playing it, and they don't play it, and they just don't make a deal of it. We just don't know. We don't know what the demographic is of different religions playing role-playing games. They might just not do it. You just don't know. Yeah.
I'd say that's more likely,
Yeah.
So for what it's worth, anyone that thinks it is, feel free to turn up. I'll quite happily have you in a game.
Absolutely.
And I will not be a twat about it if you're not.
Absolutely. That's what we want. We want to bridge these gaps into different cultures and religions that we're not able to otherwise communicate properly with. And this is a brilliant hobby to come along and leave all of that behind and just focus on a game, isn't it? We'd love to have Muslims play the game, right? Let's be honest, what we're talking about here. Or any religion. But certainly Christianity has certainly relaxed its stance on a lot of this
some
stuff.
of them.
In our country anyway. I mean, you're talking about Baptist Church in America, actually.
Muslim D&D players often adapt the game to align with Islamic principles by focusing on storytelling over polysthetic lore, frequently replacing details of beings or spirits, and removing alcohol-centric scenes. Many enjoy the hobby as a creative outlet, treating it as imaginative acting rather than a violation of faith.
That's healthy.
But how many of them do it?
Yeah, very much. It said many.
Well,
many.
I don't know. Many is more than two, isn't it?
Well, if someone's gone to the trouble of explaining how they adapt it, then I'm going to assume that people have played it.
Of course they've played it. I just don't know with the whole entire lot.
Well,
how many really spiritually intense people do play role-playing games? I don't know.
So
the intense spirituality, like I say, is more likely to lead to criticism of this kind of thing.
Maybe. And that's it would have done certainly in the 80s, 100%. It would have done.
It did. And it's a difficult thing, isn't it, to say what would happen now? Because you're right as well. It's like society has changed massively since then. I mean, Christianity is incredibly more relaxed, and generally speaking. And I know, I mentioned the Westboro Baptist Church, but those are the extremes.
Yeah, I think we are talking about extremes. Even in the 80s, it would have been more extreme.
And this is it for me as well. It's like I will defend anyone's right to believe in any religion that they want and to have any faith that they want, but I don't expect them to be telling me.
Check out RPG Blokes Plus. It's our premium service where we give you the opportunity to help pay our bills. And we guarantee you an episode every week, exclusive live plays and interviews. Now that's got to be worth £3 of anyone's money.
RPG Blokes Plus. Regular episodes for a regular you.
How to live your life by that. Yeah, absolutely. That's where I'm at with religion too.
There's freedom of religion, also freedom from religion.
Freedom of religion, absolutely.
For us, growing up as Christians in Christian school and having that baggage with us as we've grown up. I'm a Christian. I don't mind calling myself that. But it was Life of Brian that came along, and it's like, thank fuck, we can laugh about all this now.
Well, no, but again,
you know what I mean?
Look at the outrage that caused.
Well, it did at the time, but it didn't.
Massive.
It didn't. Nobody got their heads cut off, though, did they? You can only imagine.
Yeah. So the whole backlash on this, mostly religion and media. The media had a new thing to jump on. Before that, it was comic books. And people's legal defence for a little while were blame it on reading this comic book.
Sometimes I feel like there are people who don't feel like they're complete unless they're outraged about something.
That doesn't explain the entire woke ideology.
No, I don't spend my life. I know, but you describe me as woke all the time, and I'm not outraged at anything really. Listen, and I've been drinking in pubs and working man's clubs in southeast London for 40 years as a woke person, and yeah, I hear stuff I don't like, but I still manage to function in those.
That's because you're a grown up
and not a twat.
Hold on. Now listen, I've worked hard to get my reputation as a twat, and I won't have you taking it away from me willy-nilly.
Yeah, paper tiger.
So anyway, there's plenty of room for D&D to still fall foul of these things. That's what we're suggesting.
I was going to move into somewhere else, slightly from a religion. What was worse than the religious people having a go at you in the 80s was being called a nerd playing it.
We were mocked, socially awkward, friendless weirdos. It was difficult to pick up girlfriends.
Difficult.
A girlfriend, shall we say.
Even meet girls. They did it, and no girls played it. Well, we went to an all-boys school, and that's where our club was, so I guess that was a...
But there were no girls playing the
No,
game
not really.
back then.
I wouldn't have thought
knowledge,
so. It was very
one or two.
boy-centric hobby, wasn't it? Yeah.
And I mean, that's one of the things that's like improved and improved the experience, isn't it? Having like a more realistic mix of genders.
I think we would have liked it at the time, but it just wasn't happening, was it? So we weren't against it, Barry.
Fair enough. But sometimes with these hobbies, like they are kind of male-dominated for a reason. Well, listen, I need you guys to know this, right? But I move in circles where my love for the game is still seen as nerdy and geeky, and I get the piss taken out of me for that. You know, it is not street cool. Okay, I'm not like, and no matter how much you talk to them about, like Stranger Things, and there are people in my friend circles that I haven't told that I'm LARPing.
Well, that's fair.
Because I just can't.
That's a step towards satanic.
I can't be asked with the billion loaded questions that all end up with me looking like a tit.
I know.
Yeah. And it's one of the reasons that so few photos of all of us there exist. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We've never taken a group photo of us all LARPing because it will be leaked.
It would be. What happens in the cave stays in the caves, that's for sure. There's no way a photo of me's coming out. The one thing I can say is that we all lived through this period where we were demonised literally for playing the game, and it didn't put us off. We were stigmatised being geeks and losers. We still carried on playing, right? So it's a bloody good hobby. That's a sign, isn't it? The people that are playing just thought, I'm going to ignore all of that. I'm going to take all of that stigma. I'm going to live with it because I want to do this game. And so eventually the game wins through, doesn't it? The power of the game, the brilliance of the concept of role-playing games.
Well, you're playing with other people like-minded, aren't you? So you kind of stick with those people like we have done over the years. We've played together. People come in to play that would take the piss out of you at the table. I guess we've never really had someone come in, give it a go and say, oh, this is shit. But everyone seems to know what they're getting into. And
I mean, in fairness, we probably wouldn't even have met if not for the game. And we've got no other sort of social thing going on.
That's the power of a lot of hobbies.
This one in particular, I think.
But this one in particular, because it literally does involve sitting around the table.
People together.
On a regular basis.
On a regular basis.
Keep it going.
Well, that's the dream.
Oh, says a man who plays 6 times a week. So what do we think is the main thing that has caused this redemption? Or
catalyst.
The catalyst, shall we say. Has it been D&D 5th edition?
Yeah, I think you can pinpoint it to that. It's got everyone involved in it. It's like its second coming, wasn't it? Similar to the 80s, but everything that they've learned along the way, they put into that edition that drew everyone in, and they got celebrity endorsements and everything else. They got it right this time, I think, with the marketing of D&D 5th edition.
They've taken away a lot of those things that would have otherwise been unpalatable.
And they presented it as quite a wholesome game that everyone can play.
It is that one system that most people that come into our community want to play.
Yeah.
And we accommodate that. The D&D, they just come in fully fledged, don't they? Like, John, you just quickly mentioned the internet. That's been a big part of the revolution too.
If the internet had crashed during COVID, I'd dread. I mean, in general, not just our hobby, but everything. That was like the main thing that kept society running, which is a scary thing.
Yeah.
The main thing that kept society running, John, was essential workers like you and I.
Well,
then the internet, okay?
And then Dungeons and Dragons.
And then, I suppose we should talk about the movie.
Movies.
Yeah,
No,
we discussed. There's been a few.
I'm only talking about the
last
one.
one.
It's funny because I saw a guy talking about it the other day. It is a crying shame that that's not getting a sequel. That should have been the start.
They said that,
As far as I'm aware, it's not getting a sequel.
Damn.
So it cost 150 million to make, and it took 200 million, which in big studio is next to nothing. And it was a real shame because I thought it was really good.
Was, yeah.
And I think one of the reasons it did badly was because there were still a lot of people that saw the title and thought, that's probably not for me.
It's strange.
Do you know what I mean?
Because you look at a lot of the films that are being made these days, they repurpose all of the old IP and put this progressive shit into it and change them. D&D is literally there for them. It has a progressive audience. Nobody would object if those things were put into it. It's almost like a clean slate. It's attracting a lot of people like us and a lot of new progressive minds too.
Yeah.
And they're not going to put money into it and make it. I don't get it.
If they use D&D, Wizards of the Coast do dig their heels in on certain things.
You think it's a lockup of IP?
Ready Player One.
But these things could be negotiated. I was saying
Yeah,
this
but they
D&D
didn't
is
manage
literally
it.
the slate they need to bring in all of those things they've practically destroyed different IPs with and warped them into something they're no longer very, very palatable or enjoyable to watch. D&D, it would all work.
Which ones?
Doctor Who, Star Wars.
Doctor Who's always
Star
been
Trek.
relatively woke. Star
Yeah.
Trek? How has Star Trek been ruined by woke? Like, the Federation is the wokest organisation on the planet and always has been.
You'd think, wouldn't you?
How
could you make that more
I
woke?
know very little about Star Trek. It's not one of my things, but I did recently watch Starfleet Academy. I quite enjoyed it. I'm
not surprised.
I'm a bit of a Gina Yashiri fan. I've always liked her work.
That is literally the first person I've ever heard say that. Well, all I can say, people used to watch it back then and they don't anymore. So what I'm talking about anyway in this regard is the fact that they've destroyed these franchises by bringing in things that people are not interested in having as part of what they're watching.
D&D film.
D&D should be literally the place where this happens.
I don't think it's not going to get a sequel because people didn't like it. It just probably didn't earn enough money, and that's what the bottom line is. It's exactly
what it is, and it's a shame because the studio did a genuinely good job with it.
Let's be honest, the latest Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who are losing hundreds of millions of pounds. There's potential to grow that. I think it's a real shame. It's sad to hear that they're not continuing with it because we all enjoyed it.
I guess
just for the record, when you say the new Star Wars movies are losing money hand over fist, The Rise of Skywalker made $1 billion.
You should have your phone taken away. Your AI Google search is confusing our podcast.
People should be fact-checked. The Rise of Skywalker made $1 billion. Can you explain to me how that's not successful?
But we're not talking about those films. We're talking about the latest stuff they've released over the last 4 or 5 years. They're cancelling series, aren't they? Because they're losing money.
Not every piece of output is going to be for every single fan, especially if these wish to continue to endure, they have to attract new fans. And I'm not necessarily saying they're being successful at that. And I've gone on record as saying that I don't like it when they just, like, let's say, for example, they just change the gender or race of a character and say that counts as representation. I think that's really lazy. But if the storytelling's all right, it kind of don't matter what the agenda is.
Those things don't worry me. What worries me is the directors and the people that are put in charge of these franchises are literally going on record and saying, I am going to use this as a vehicle to educate you.
Who said that?
A lot of these directors have gone on record to say that.
Okay, so on record, so you'll be able to show me the records?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Work on it.
The Acolyte, wasn't it? She was an activist,
you know
wasn't she?
And this is another thing as well. I enjoyed it. The concept was brilliant. I thought they were some of the best combat scenes I've ever seen in a Star Wars movie.
So yeah, we enjoy playing politics within the game, but it shouldn't be part of the game. And I guess it shouldn't be part of our podcast either. And when I edit this podcast down, I'm not quite sure whether to go with that entire conversation or not, because it is very much about what our culture and the friction within our societies are very much about at the moment. And it is beginning to impinge upon our hobby, which we've never liked it to do. We want to ring fence that from the experience we're having at the table, which is why we want other people to feel that they're welcome to play, no matter what their view on life is or what they believe. They just come along and just play at the table because we're not judging you on that shit. We're getting on with our game.
And I love it for that. I absolutely love it for that.
Just goes to show...
The social contract, don't be a twat about
Don't be a twat at the table.
It also proves there's the polarisation is not real. It's just saying it's been constructed. Nobody cares. So that pretty much sums it all up.
But could you play
Stephen.
D&D with Hitler?
Yeah, fuck it.
I mean, I think that might be where I draw the line.
Adolf's just walked into the room. Adolf, come and sit down. He comes and plays a game. We don't talk politics.
He's a murderer.
We don't talk about anything other than the game. And he's fucking excellent at it, right? He knows how to play.
No, young artist corporal from the First World War.
You are literally playing D&D with Hitler. You wouldn't know it's Hitler.
What? I don't recognise Hitler.
Okay.
You mean the next Hitler?
The next Hitler that nobody's heard of.
Imagine someone said, who you playing with last night, and you start describing Hitler to them. Little guy, kind of funny moustache, military uniform, which I thought was weird.
The social contract's so important.
It
works out. The game does not function. It doesn't function unless you've got that. If you bring in any of this shit into it, it ruins everybody's experience at the table.
You do get a chance to talk about that stuff, just not at the fucking table, and talk about it with the people that are your mates.
I was questioning whether the hobby will survive this discourse we've had. Is becoming more and more common, and that social media is winding people up, let's be honest, and the whole thing is becoming more difficult to get on with people that don't have the same opinion as you. Does the hobby survive it? Because it doesn't work if any of those things are brought to the table.
Yeah, but you can move. If people don't like things, they can go to a different group.
In our society?
Anywhere.
Or online as well.
Online, amongst your mates, there'll always be someone who knows someone. You can migrate from groups and systems.
Well, I don't think you play a game based on the people's political opinions, do you? Or anything. You just play a game based on the game, and I think that's how it works. I think that's how it will continue to work.
But this is an inclusive hobby. We'd all agree on that, right? Because these things cannot be part of the game. So it naturally creates environments which are very, very inclusive, which we all benefit from. You've often said, Barry, you would never guess what we've all got in common.
No, the variety of size, shape, personality, politics, job, all of that stuff that we have in our club, it's mental.
Yeah.
So it brings together people that wouldn't normally come together, which is perfect, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what society is attempting to do right now with so many big changes happening, that it is an example of how things should be and how they should work.
And politics and media try to divide, but this game...
Yeah, absolutely 100%. Yeah, it's not just that you're kind of coming into contact with people that you wouldn't ordinarily come into contact. You're being forced to sit down and engage with them for 3 hours at a time. I think it's probably the only kind of collaborative hobby that I have in my life.
And we're dealing with all of these issues, aren't we? I mean, with politics are in the game and racial issues that are in the game. I mean, they're strange. We play with people that, if they're in reality, if they were in the game, they would be discriminated against, but they're able to separate their own feelings of what they've experienced in their real life and put it into context in the game.
Or to play someone that would be discriminated against in the game and explore those feelings.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. It's either either, isn't it? Which is, I think, one of the great things about the hobby as well. It's like you can sort of try stuff on for size a little bit.
Yeah.
I wonder what being a prick's like. I don't wonder what being a prick.
And in our community, there are lots of other different hobbies that are done in the same centre, in the same house as we use. And I often get told by those that run the community that as a group, we have the least issues between us all. Every other group up there, no matter how small they are, half a dozen people, there's fallings out, there's problems between personalities. Yeah, we have 100 people turning up there. Over the course of the 8 years, I can count on one hand or less how many problems we've had, real big problems with people. So few. Yeah, it's just so accommodating, and that's what I love about it. And that's the community, so powerful to get involved. Don't be put off by the feeling that your point of view would not be accepted. Nobody's interested in it. They're only interested in what your character name is, what you can do, and what you can bring to the table. So we've come off a little bit from what the podcast should have really been talking about at this point. Either we make 2 podcasts of this, or we tie it up.
I stand by everything I said. I've Don't feel like you need to edit anything I said for my benefit.
If you want to stand by the fact the acolyte ain't bad,
I said the combat was good. I said the combat.
We didn't mention Stranger Things was really good for D&D.
Oh yeah, we got to mention that.
Okay, let's mention that quickly. Yeah,
brilliant show, wasn't it? Just finished.
Positive.
And so celebrity dungeon masters and the whole online phenomenon, watching people play. Our mate Dan went to Wembley Arena, didn't he, to watch Critical Role. We was back in the old days watching bands play.
I know.
Big bands play, and you're thinking, what, 40 years' time? You could be sitting there watching...
40 years' time, someone will be sitting there playing D&D. That's mental.
Yeah.
It is mental.
Never would have put money on that.
Yeah.
So these things are...
Part of personality.
A real redemption arc of D&D to the point where we think this might be the pinnacle of it. It might be the only way is down here. Who knows?
I think it'll become more diverse. As more people experience the concept of the hobby and how to do things. If they don't like D&D or whatever system they find, they can find another system. They can make their own system. So it will. I think it will spread. It might thin out, possibly, but that will be still good.
I think it might fragment, like you say.
That's an interesting...
But it won't fall apart.
No, it'll still be there. If you think of the whole community as everyone who plays role-playing games rather than one particular one, then they're all still there. Yeah.
So I think we'd draw a line there before we all fall out with each other and
explode.
we become too political. I thought this would be a most intense podcast episode to date, and wow,
how much of it survives you cutting ruthlessly?
I'd love to think that none of it gets cut.
I would like to hear an uncut version. Thank you very much, because I want to know what things I've said were beyond the pals here. Not let him say that. Not let him. For this episode, could we get a guest editor?
I think it'd just be you saying hello and then goodbye.
Okay, we'll finish the podcast now with our outro segment, which is called Barry's Bangers.
Okay, so I'm going to just lighten the mood ever so slightly. So this was a recent one as well in my Darwin game, and this one didn't. We'll find out if the underwear's magic when we get there.
I have questions that I don't want answers to.
There was some talk of magic fabric, which obviously meant we could have made it into anything we wanted. We haven't got the magic fabric yet, but all of a sudden it became, pants. If we get an opportunity to make everything, we're all making. Who wouldn't take the opportunity to make magic pants?
Oh, I thought you'd join one of John's Sex Dungeon podcasts.
I know the guy. There's a difference.
Those are tragic pants.
We're all good to go.
So let's slice and dice.
Oh, I feel like we should shake hands.
Absolutely.
Right outside.